If you walked along the seafront in the morning in the 1950s up to the 1970s, from Brewer Street to the Timeball Tower, you'd be confronted with a bustling hive of activity, with the Dill boatmen getting their boats ready for the influx of anglers that used to arrive for a day's fishing. Many of the anglers would be hoping to board the boats that were plying for hire along the beach, and many others were waiting to go afloat, having previously booked their day out, all with the hopes of a good catch, which in those days was nearly always guaranteed. Duncan Finn's and The Angler, two well-established tackle shops at the top of King Street, supplied fishing tackle and fresh bait. There were also a few other bait suppliers in the town which were kept busy from the demand. Jim Bingham in Market Street, the Willis brothers in Brewer Street, Terry Frank's tackle and gun shop in Coppin Street, Jim Hurd in the forecastle, and that was as well as a few bait diggers that sold from the beach. The Lobster Pot Cafe, which was run by Jim and Val, used to satisfy the anglers' culinary needs with a hearty breakfast, and while sitting at their table, the anglers could gaze upon the photos of large fish that had been caught off Dill, pictures which were taken by Basil Kidd and adorned the cafe's walls. Boatmen taking out angling parties were very busy and wouldn't get a break until the weather turned foul. In the late 1950s, there were still a few angling boats north of the Royal Hotel. The Blue Line, Bob Abel's boats, he took over Tommy Upton's plots. Jim Scarden's boat, the Mary Ann, Alec Marsh and the Loretta, Togo Harris with his boats, Kirby and Four Brothers, Bill Bailey, who was also known for his service on the lifeboat, and Vin Alsop, and a couple of others privately owned. The picture here shows Dr. Hall, Frank Preston and Bill Bailey, alongside one of Bill Bailey's boats at the top of Oak Street. All these boats had to move in the 1960s as work continued on the sea defences. Some of the owners sold up, but others were resituated south of the Royal Hotel, and the boatmen had the arduous task of putting in new moorings so as their winches could be secured. In the 1960s, after the boats were moved to south of the Royal Hotel, where the car park is now, there were Coltman's boats, Stan Kent and Wimpy Fishlock with their fiberglass boats, and several others. Jim Scarden's boats, the Fairway, Fair Chance, Mary Ann and Dauntless, were rebirthed by which was then the ladies' toilets. This is now a cafe. Jim Scarden relocated to opposite the Timeball in 1966, putting his boats up for auction and selling up a couple of years later. His son David returned to the beach in 1972 with the motorboat Spray. The Blue Line fleet of vessels belonging to boat builder Bob Abel relocated and plied for hire at the top of King Street by the Shelter. The pride of that fleet was newly built in 1964. This was the Sou'wester, with skipper-owner Robert Abel. She was one of the only cabin boats on the beach at the time. She was built in Bob Abel's workshop, Dill Marine Craft, in Middle Street, and was 25 feet long. She was used for potting, trawling and angling parties. The local bylaw in those days did not allow a vessel over 25 feet in length to trawl from Dill. I took many angling parties out in the Sou'wester and worked with Robert Abel potting and trawling early mornings and nights. Wilkes caught were cooked in the boathouse, bagged in 4-gallon sacks and shipped to Billingsgate. There were some big catches in the 1960s. Next to the Blue Line, moving south, was Claire Hickman's boats, the Why Not and the If Not, and Sonny Alf Bett's boat, the Rose and Mary. You'd also see many deck chairs and covers on the beach in the old days. These were owned by the boatmen and gave another source of income. South of the pier was also a hive of boats of all sizes, and was a busy place with numerous anglers still frequenting the town, which was keeping the boatmen in regular work. As the coastal defence work continued along the beach to the south, the boats once again either had to move or sell up. Gradually they were moved to south of the pier, and their numbers became less. In the 1970s onwards, south of the pier up to Sons Road, there were still many boats chartering for hire. Ben Bailey's fleet stood proud next to the pier. His boats were the Golden Spray, the Teddy Bear, the Galley Punt Undaunted and the Lucky Star, skippered by Dickie Lill. He was once part of the well-known Scardens Northdill band. Next to Ben Bailey was Johnny Budd's boat, the Princess Elizabeth, with skipper Roy Hewkins, and just to the south of this was Alan Evans with his punt Seaboy, and the Rob Marie, which was once part of the Blue Line. The Blue Line sold up during the forced move from south of the pier. I put new garboard streaks in the Rob Marie after she was badly damaged in the 1970s. Moving south, we come to Percy Luckhurst with the Seafarer and the Silver Harvester. Luckhurst also had an electrical shop in Sandwich. Next to him was Mr. Hooley, then Les Burrows with his punt. This was used for sprat and herring fishing during the winter months. And a bit further south was Harry Brown, who skippered the Golden Vanity. Then the Sunbeam, owned by Terry Neal, who had the removal company and later owned Neal's Coaches. A couple of other boats whose owners' names I cannot remember lie between these boats. Moving south again, opposite the Port Arms, we come to Reg Bailey with the Marjorie Ellen, then Maisie Mullis, who had the boats Maisie Ann, skippered by Bill Smith, and the Jill, which was skippered by Joey Smith. Vince Alsop relocated from north of the Royal to opposite the Regent with his two boats, and opposite the Timeball was Dave Scarden's Spray, which was used for commercial fishing only. Alec Marsh relocated next to the Spray with his boats, the Loretta and the two fiberglass boats he had. Again in the 1980s, as the new splash wall was going to be put in place along Dill Seafront, the boats were once again forced to move, and many more sold up, as the decline in angling parties and the new regulations made continuing an unviable proposition. As you look along Dill Seafront now, the picturesque scenes of the fishing boats as they were in the past is gone, apart from half a dozen still in situation near the Old Queen's Hotel. Looking north from the Timeball, the view is of the desolate, bare, bland beach scene, apart from the groins which protrude down the beach. The promenade has rows and rows of car bays with cars in them and a splash wall all along its length, which, during the storm of 1978, proved its worthlessness. During this severe storm, the sea breached the splash wall, ran across the road and hit the houses. It tried to return to the sea, but the splash wall being in the way, the water had no option. It hit the wall, turned and run down into the town, causing much flooding. The seafront is not the eye-catching sight of the years gone by, and not a sight for one to sit and recollect over. I remember the old days, glorious and beautiful, a place to learn and have fun, and grow up with the old boatmen who were hard-working and courageous. I was honoured, as they taught me well, and I, like them, spent much of my life as a dual boatman and worked hard to earn a living.